Yo, what is up NBA fans? It's Mike here. Today, I want to talk about the Chicago Bulls, a team who I think is going to be very interesting to watch this upcoming season. And the main reason why is not only are they a young team with a lot of potential talent, but also I think they have one of the biggest differences in the NBA this season between what their ceiling is and what their floor is. Alright, and what I mean by that is, the Chicago Bulls could, in my opinion, definitely make the playoffs this year if everything goes right. Alright, if Markkanen looks good, if Zach Lavine looks good, if Kobe White and Wendell Carter look good, alright, Patrick Williams looks good, if all these guys come together in the way people are hoping, and their new coach is assumedly better than their previous one, which I can't imagine any way he wouldn't be, maybe they make the playoffs. There is also a world where their new coach is bad, Zach Lavine keeps putting up quote-unquote empty stats, Lauri Markkanen keeps regressing, Kobe White turns out to have had a fluke last season, and Patrick Williams is what everyone seems to be thinking he is, which is someone who does not deserve to be drafted anywhere near the number 4 pick, and they're like the 14th seed in the East, and then Lauri Markkanen just doesn't seem to have a future, and Zach Lavine demands a trade. That's also possible. Alright, and because of that, I want to talk about this team, and what do I think their season's going to look like, and also not only this season, but their near future. How do I think the Bulls are going to look over the next few years? So let's get right into it. So coming into this season, I think the Bulls are going to have a very solid starting lineup, alright? I think Kobe White is going to start at point guard, and he's going to get a lot more minutes than he did last year, and I expect him to put up very good stats. Zach Lavine is going to do his thing. I'm assuming they'll start Otto Porter Jr. at the small forward, because I think Patrick Williams is more of like a power forward, but I'm not going to pretend I really know that much. Never been a big draft guy, so I don't know a ton about him, except that A, everyone thinks the dude shouldn't have been drafted that high, and B, he is a very athletic player. Lauri Markkanen, going to be the power forward, and Wendell Carter Jr., who is one of the most underrated players in the league, is going to be their center. Just going through this, alright, Zach Lavine is a very good young player. I would say, like, fringe all-star player in the East. If he has another jump this season, or even if he plays pretty much the same, but the Bulls at least come very close to making the playoffs, he could be an all-star this season. Dude just kind of needs to keep doing what he's doing. And I'm a little bit worried about his future and if he's going to get a max, but we'll get to that later in the video. Alright, Kobe White had a fantastic end to the previous season, and even though I think his stats may have been slightly better than he's going to be this year, I do expect him to take a big jump statistically from his rookie year. He's going to be a very solid starting point guard, or scoring point guard. I mean, he's going to be the starting point guard, and you know what I'm saying, right? He's going to be a very good scorer on this team. I would say the secondary scorer behind Zach Lavine. Otto Porter Jr., I mean, obviously the dude's not worth that massive contract. He's good when he shows up, but it seems like every other night the man just doesn't give a fuck and doesn't bother to play defense or do anything on offense, so I don't know. I hope the Bulls do better this year and Otto Porter Jr. plays decently for the Bulls' sake. Lauri Markkanen, I don't know what he's going to do this year. I really have no clue. I've seen lots of people who think he's a future all-star. Some people have already said he's a bust. I really don't know, okay? I don't follow the Bulls super closely. The dude, a lot of people thought he was going to be like basically Porzingis Jr., and I don't think he's ever going to have the defense in him to be that, but if he could at least be Porzingis on offense, he could still be a very good player. I just don't know. I really don't know about him. Obviously, the Bulls had the worst coach in the NBA over the last few years in Jim Boylen. Arguably the worst coach in NBA history. Like, this man would cause you embarrassment to coach a middle school. He was that bad. I swear, you, probably anyone you could think of could come in and coach a team better than Jim Boylen did. He was atrocious. Thank God he's gone, okay? I can't believe that man was ever in the NBA. So, a lot of people have been saying that maybe he's the reason for Lauri Markkanen's issues. I don't know, though, because he just seemed, I don't know, he just looked, in the few times I did see him play, he almost looked kind of scared. It's just hard to say. I'm thinking he will have a little bit of improvement this upcoming season, but I would not count on Lauri Markkanen coming out and looking like an all-star this year. Just because of a new coach. I don't think it's going to happen, and I also think he's still not going to get a crap ton of shots because now Kobe White's going to be in the starting lineup and he's going to be a better player, so why would they give, Lauri Markkanen shots over him? Because he clearly wants it, alright? Kobe White, he's ready to play. He's ready to go out and get buckets. Lauri, I'm just not sure. And then Wendell Carter Jr. at center. Extremely good defensive player, one of the most underrated players in the league because of that, because he doesn't do a ton on offense, but on defense, he just carries this team. Because the rest of the starting lineup, Otto Porter Jr. is the only real above-average defender, and even then, he's kind of iffy. Wendell Carter carries this team on defense, and I don't know what his offensive ceiling is. Again, haven't watched a crap ton of Bulls games, but I think on defense, this man has like a Joel Embiid-like potential. Like legit, one of the best defensive players in the league. I really wouldn't be surprised if he contends for an all-defensive team this season if the Bulls really do well. Okay, he is a fantastic defender. Just a really good defensive player. His offensive ceiling doesn't seem much better than like your classic center where, he gets lobs, he can do a little bit of posting up, but he's nothing special. He is only 20 years old though, so he has, or 21, I believe. So he has plenty of time to work on his shot. If he can get like a little bit of a mid-range, a little bit of a three-pointer in there, maybe he could be an all-star one day. I think that might be stretching it to say it right now, just because he's pretty far away from that on the offensive end. But, Bulls fans, you can hope. It's definitely possible. And then on the bench, the big player to talk about is obviously Patrick Williams. I mean, look, Bulls fans. All I gotta say is that you better pray to all the gods that this man ends up being whatever your organization thought he was gonna be. And I feel bad for Patrick Williams, because I think he could be a solid player with his athleticism, but the man was clearly not expected to be drafted this high, so the pressure is going to be on him all season, and probably for the rest of his career, because the Bulls are a big team, too. They're not a small market. They're not quite, Los Angeles or New York, but they are a big market team. They're a very famous basketball city, and the pressure's going to be on Patrick Williams to live up to expectations, whatever those really are. So if he ends up looking like a bust, he is going to get crucified by the media and by you Bulls fans. I already know he is. And I just feel kind of bad for the kid, to be honest. But hopefully he lives up to it. This season, though, I don't know a lot about him, but it seems like his game is mostly based off athleticism. I just don't really know. I don't expect him to do a ton. I don't have much to say about Patrick Williams, man. I don't follow the draft super closely. I don't really know. So, what do I expect the Bulls to look like this season? Well, I don't expect them to make the playoffs, alright? That would take a lot of things coming together. Like I said, I don't expect Lauri Markkanen to just look like an all-star. I just don't think he's going to be that good. And as good as Wendell Carter Jr. is on defense, the rest of this team is really sus on defense. Like I said, Otto Porter Jr. pretty much the only other above-average defender on this team, and he's not elite by any means. So I would probably predict them to be somewhere around the 10th or 11th seed, behind the Wizards and the Hornets, although they could definitely pass either of those teams, especially the Hornets in my opinion, because they don't exactly have a lot of depth on that roster, even though they got a solid starting five now. So that could be good enough, though, if they at least have very close to a 500 record, which I think they could, because the East has gotten a lot better. I would be shocked if any time in the near future we have another playoff team in the East making it who has a losing record, because the teams are just getting much better these days. They really need to add in 2 more teams to the league, so that way it's only the 50% best teams making the playoffs. But anyway, that's for another video. I think the Bulls need to at least approach a winning record to have a good future, because what could happen this season, they have a high potential for their future. They really do. Okay, looking at this roster, Otto Porter Jr. and his disgusting massive contract is going to be done after this season, and they're going to have space for a max player if they want to, if they let some other guys go too, and they could sign a max player in this offseason if they look good. What could also happen is no max players come, though. The team does badly, Lauri Markkanen still looks bad, and they have to decide, what they want to give him for his new contract. And Zach Lavine could demand a trade because his contract is up at the end of 2022. Now, I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't have very strong opinions on this team, and the issue is also I don't expect them to be terrible, but I also don't expect them to be great. And because of that, I think it depends on how much Zach Lavine likes Chicago and how much potential the young guys really look like they have. I mean, is Zach Lavine the kind of guy who's even going to want to share the ball that much with another guard in Kobe White, who's another backcourt guard who's going to be putting up a lot of shots and wanting to score a lot? Because he certainly has the talent to be deserving of that, but I don't know if that's what Zach Lavine wants. Does Zach Lavine want a max contract? Does he think he deserves it? I don't think he does, personally, but he very well might. I don't know if the Bulls should give one to him. There's a lot of questions with this team, and that's why I think they're so interesting in this season. I'm very curious to see how they do, especially as someone who is not a Bulls fan, so I don't have to be sitting there biting my nails throughout the season. Just a very interesting team. So my predictions for them this year, probably somewhere around the 10th seed. They're going to be decent enough, maybe like a slightly losing record. Like in a normal season, they'd probably have like 39 or 40 wins. I don't know what that would translate to in this 72-game season, but I think they're going to be solid. Definitely an improvement over last year, but I just don't know if they have it in them to make the playoffs. And then their future, I think a lot of it comes down to Zach Lavine and if any free agents decide to come to this team. Next offseason is going to be huge for the Chicago Bulls, and I expect them to at least very much try for one of the big names next year. So look forward to that. Alright guys, that is it for my video today. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And check out some of my other content. I would appreciate that as well. Thank you.